Hey everybody, this is the Crucible Act 2, Part 2. Just got back from the doctor with my kid, and she has antibiotics now because she has a bladder infection. You know what that is, it makes you pee all the time. Very painful, not very fun. So, sorry I'm not with you today. Look kind of crappy, but whatever. It's been a home day. Where we're going to pick up last time, if you are indeed following these videos, is in the old book with the red cover. We are on page 55. Okay? If you are in the new book, the fat book, okay, it would also be on page 53, okay? Where I left off on the previous video, basically, John and Elizabeth are having this argument, and she says, you need to go into Salem and you need to tell everybody that Abigail is lying, that she is a fraud, and that she told you that all this witchcraft and all this, and that Betty's sickness was just sport, right? Okay? And, you know, he's like, listen, I'm tired of you judging me. He says, every time I walk into this house, I feel like I walk into a court. And Elizabeth says, I don't judge you. It is the magistrate in your heart that judges you. She says, basically, I only thought you were but a good man. Okay? And he says, no. An everlasting funeral is what marches round your heart. Okay? And he says, oh, Elizabeth, your justice would freeze beer. Okay? And then, so that's where we're going to start off. It's on page 55 in the old book, 53 in the new book. Okay, please don't forget that you're supposed to be annotating for themes and motifs. Look on that annotation bookmark for Act 2 that we completed. If you did not get a chance in your specific class to fill that out, there is a copy of all of the things that you should have filled in on Schoology, okay? So again, Proctor, laughing bitterly, says, oh, Elizabeth, your justice would freeze beer. And then in the stage directions it tells us, he turns suddenly toward a sound outside. He starts for the door as Mary Warren enters. As soon as he sees her, he goes directly to her and grabs her by the cloak, furious. How do you go to Salem when I forbid it? Do you mock me? Shaking her, I'll whip you if you dare leave this house again. Strangely, she doesn't resist him, but hangs limply by his grip. Hey, Libby. One second. Elizabeth, can you come close this door? Well, never mind. Hang on one second, everyone. Okay. My neighbor's mowing his grass. So, Mary Warren hangs all sickly. She says, I am sick, Mr. Proctor. Pray, hurt me not. Her strangeness throws him off, and her evident pallor, which is her color in her face, and weakness, he frees her. My insides are all shuddery. I am in the proceedings all day, sir. Proctor, with draining anger, his curiosity is draining it. And what of these proceedings here? When will you proceed to keep this house, as you were paid £9 a year to do, and my wife not wholly well? As though to compensate, Mary Warren goes to Elizabeth with a small rag doll. I made a gift for you today, Goody Proctor. I had to sit long hours in a chair and pass the time with sewing. Elizabeth, perplexed or kind of confused, looks at the door and says, why thank you. It is a fair poppet. Okay, poppet's another word for a doll. Mary Warren, with a trembling, decayed voice. We must all love each other now, Goody Proctor. Elizabeth, amazed. Indeed we must. I'll get up early in the morning and clean the house. I must sleep now. She turns and starts off, and Proctor says, Mary, is it true? There be 14 women arrested? Oh, no, sir. There be 39 now. And she suddenly breaks off and sobs. Why, she's weeping. What ails you, child? Goody Osborne will hang. Oh, and she's sobbing. Hang, calls Proctor. He calls into her face. Hang, you say? The deputy governor will permit it? Oh, he sentenced her. He must. To ameliorate it. Hey, ameliorate was one of your vocab words, right? Or is. It's going to be to make something better. So Mary Warren again says, well, he sentenced her. He must, but not Sarah Good, for Sarah Good confessed, you see. Confessed to what? That she sometimes made a compact with Lucifer and wrote her name in his black book with her blood and bound herself to torment Christians till God's thrown down, and we must all worship hell forever. But surely you know what a jabberer she is, right? Like, she's nuts. Did you tell them that? Oh, Mr. Proctor, in open court she near to choked us all to death. How choked you? She sent her spirit out. Oh, Mary, Mary, surely you... She tried to kill me many times, goody Proctor. Why, I never heard you mention that before. Oh, I never knew it before. I never knew anything before. But when she come into the court, I say to myself, I must not accuse this woman, for she sleep in ditches, and so very old and poor. But then she sit there, denying and denying, and I feel a misty coldness climbing up my back, and the skin of my skull begin to creep, and I feel a clamp around my neck, and I cannot breathe air, and then I hear a voice, a screaming voice, and it were my voice, and all at once I remembered everything she done to me. Why, what did she do to you? And then Mary says, like one awakened in a marvelous secret insight, so many times, Mr. Proctor, she come to this very door, begging bread and a cup of cider, and mark this, whenever I turned her away empty, she mumbled. Mumbled? Well, she may mumble if she's hungry. But what does she mumble? You must remember, goody Proctor, last month, a Monday, I think, she walked away, and I thought my guts would burst for 2 days after. Do you remember it? Why, I do, I think, so I told that to Judge Hawthorne, and he asked her, so, Sarah Good, he says, what curse do you mumble that this girl may fall sick after turning you away? And then she replies, why, your excellence, no curse at all. I only say my commandments. I hope I might say my commandments, says she. And that's an upright answer. Aye, but then Judge Hawthorne say, recite for us your commandments. And of all the 10 commandments, she could not say a single one. She never knew no commandments, and they had her in a flat lie. And so condemned her? Why, they must, when she condemned herself. But the proof! I told you the proof. It's hard proof, hard as a rock, the judges said. You will not go to court again, Mary Warren. Oh, I must tell you, sir, I will be gone every day now. I am amazed you do not see what weighty work we do. Should be annotating that for the weight motif. What work you do? It's strange work for a Christian girl to hang old women. But, Mr. Proctor, they will not hang them if they confessed. Sarah Good will only sit in jail sometime. And here's a wonder for you. Think on this. Goody Good is pregnant. Pregnant? Are they mad? The woman's near to 60. They had Dr. Griggs examine her, and she's full to the brim, and smoking a pipe all these years, and no husband either. But she's safe, thank God, for they'll not hurt the innocent child. Be that not a marvel? You must see it, sir. It's God's work we do. So I'll be gone every day for some time. I'm an official of the court, they say, and I'll official you. And he goes to the mantel, takes down the whip hanging fair, and Mary Warren, terrified, and says, I'll not stand whipping any more. Elizabeth says, Mary, promise now you'll stay home. Mary Warren backs away from him, but keeps her erect posture. She's striving for her way to feel dignified. The devil's loose in Salem, Mr. Proctor. We must discover where he's hiding. I'll whip the devil out of you. And he raises the whip and reaches out for her, and she says, I saved her life today. I am accused, says Elizabeth. Well, somewhat mentioned, but I said I never see no sign you ever sent your spirit out to hurt no one. And seeing I did live so closely with you, they dismissed it. Who accused me? I am bound by law. I cannot tell it. I only hope you'll not be so sarcastical no more. 4 judges and the king's deputy sat to dinner with us but an hour ago. I would have you speak civilly to me from this out. Proctor, whore, muttering disgust to her. Go to bed. Mary Warren says, it says with a stamp of her foot, I'll not be ordered to bed no more, Mr. Proctor. I'm 18 and a woman, however single. Do you wish to sit up? Then sit up. I wish to go to bed. Good night, then. Good night. Okay, dissatisfied, and then she goes out, okay? Now, before we go any further, two things to note if you flip your pages back, okay? First of all, this person that she's talking about, Goody Osborne, she is a homeless beggar woman. Again, we have talked about how the Puritans don't like people who stray from conformity. They don't like people who are different. So that makes her an easy target, okay? Proctor keeps saying, what proof? What proof do they have? And Mary says, well, hold on a second. She sent her spirit out. Like, here I am in the proceedings, and all of a sudden I feel cold, right? Okay? And then she also says, don't you remember, she came to the door a while back, and she asked me for money or for bread or for food, and when I turned her away, she mumbled something, right? Okay? Like, you probably would too. You'd be like, fine, don't give me any money. You know, I mean, so this crazy old lady. Mary says, but don't you remember, for 2 days afterwards, my stomach hurt. And I thought, and she's like, putting two and two together. Of course, Sarah Osborne must have cursed me. Okay, so they're kind of finding reasons to call anything witchcraft. All right? So, now we have how many people? 31 people, she said, I believe, if we look back in the text, right? She says, is it true? Are there 14? No, there's 39 people that have now been accused of witchcraft. And we get this hint now that Elizabeth's name has come up, mentioned, okay? And she wouldn't give up who accused her, but I'm sure you can all figure out who it probably was, right? So now Elizabeth and John are going to have a conversation on their own, okay? And Elizabeth's going to be like, that's it, man. And she's going to say, the noose is up. The noose is the end of the rope, that circle part that they would use to hang someone. So she's saying, that's it. I'm done for. Okay? So this is on page 60 in the Red Book. And page 57 in the New Book. All right? So Elizabeth says, the noose is up. There'll be no news. She wants me dead. I knew all week it would come to this. Well, they dismissed it. You heard her say, and what of tomorrow? She will cry me out until they take me. Sit you down. She wants me dead, John. You know it. Who, of course, is Elizabeth speaking of? Abigail. I say sit down, Proctor says. She sits and she trembling, and he speaks quietly, trying to keep his voice. Now, we must be wise, Elizabeth. Huh! Oh, indeed, indeed, Elizabeth says. Fear nothing. I'll find Ezekiel Cheever. I'll tell him she said it were all sport. John, with so many in the jail, more than Cheever's help is needed now, I think. Would you favor me with this? Go to Abigail. What have I to say to Abigail? John, grant me this. You have a faulty understanding of young girls. You don't understand girls, okay? There is a promise made in any bed. What promise? Spoke or silent, a promise is surely made, and she may dote on it now. I'm sure she does, and thinks to kill me, then take my place. Proctor's anger is rising, and he cannot see. It is her dearest hope, John, I know it. There be 1,000 names. Why does she call mine? There be a certain danger in calling such a name. I am no goody-good that sleeps in ditches, nor Osborne drunk and half-witted. She dare not call out such a farmer's wife, but there be a monstrous profit in it. She thinks to take my place, John. She cannot think it. John, have you ever shown her somewhat of contempt? She cannot pass you in the church, but will blush, she'll turn red, right? Oh, wait, let me reread that. She says, John, have you ever showed her somewhat of contempt? She cannot pass you in the church, but you will blush. I may blush for my sin. I think she sees another meaning in the blush. And what see you? What see you, Elizabeth? I think you would be somewhat ashamed, for I am there and she's so close. When will you know me, woman? Were I stone, I would have cracked for shame this 7 months. Then go and tell her she's a whore. Whatever promise she may sense, break it, John, break it. Good, then, I'll go. And he starts, and she says, oh, how unwillingly. And he says, I will curse her hotter than the oldest cinder in hell. But pray, begrudge me not my anger. Your anger? I only ask you, woman, am I so base? Again, why did I give you that root of BAS? Base means low. Am I such a low moral person? Woman, am I so base? Do you truly think me base? I never called you base. Then how do you charge me with such a promise? The promise that a stallion gives a mare I gave that girl. Then why do you anger with me when I bid you break it? Because it speaks deceit, lies, and I am honest. But I'll plead no more. I see now your spirit twists around the single arrow of my life, and I will never tear free of it. You'll tear it free when you come to know that I will be your only wife, or no wife at all. She has an arrow in you yet, John Proctor, and you know it well. Now, before we go any further, backtrack a little bit about this promise. What Elizabeth is saying here is that because Abigail and John had sex, right? They slept together, okay? All girls think that if they have sex with a guy, that must mean the guy loves them. Let me tell you, nothing farther from the truth, okay? He's basically saying, yeah, we had sex, but it was just sex. Okay, there were no emotions attached to it. Elizabeth's like, well, that's not what she thinks. You go to church and you start blushing, and so she's reading that as you're hot for her still, okay? And so he actually says, no, what do you think I am, right? I still have morals. I'm not base. I'm not that low of a person, okay? Yes, I made a mistake, and I get it, right? And he says, right, he says, listen, fine. I'm not going to, fine, I'll go and I'll talk to her, right? He even tries to justify himself by saying that the promise that a stallion gives a mare, I gave that girl. That's his evidence right there, which is also an animal imagery motif. Okay. And then he also tossed, I will curse her hotter than the oldest cinder in hell. A cinder is like a little, like ash that burns, okay? So there's more like temperature motifs, okay? But when he says, the promise that a stallion gives a mare, I gave that girl, that's his evidence right there for saying it was just sex, okay? I didn't promise her love. That's what happened, okay? All right. I'm going to stop right there so this video doesn't get too long because they're taking forever to upload, and we will continue in a moment. More from Miss B's Kitchen